Hello and welcome to the gak.co.uk Guitar Shop podcast. I am your host Mark Packham. Who is with me this evening?
Hello, my name's Jay. I'm the assistant manager here in the guitar store.
Hello, my name's Matt and I am the manager.
No Joe Branton this evening.
Thank goodness.
No bass-related queries.
No bass-related queries.
Yeah, we'll do a bass-related query.
No.
What, we're just not going to do them?
No, can't talk about them.
Okay.
It's Joe's domain.
Bass free zone. No, we've got some questions about bass, so we
might actually get an unbiased opinion.
Maybe I'll
The answer is
them.
P-bass.
Yeah. I mean, to any bass question.
Yeah. What's the
P-bass.
question? The answer's Fender P-bass.
Yeah, I don't think that's really all the options there are on bass.
Okay. There's Squire P-bass as well.
Squire P-bass.
There's also Squire Matt Freeman P-bass.
Yeah.
Is it Ghostbusters?
PJ bass?
Okay. I don't know, I've not tried one of those.
Just turn the jazz pickup off.
Yeah.
Anyway, how's everyone, alright?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Enjoying the wet weather?
Oh, it was absolutely disgusting on my walk to work today. I got to work and my glasses were...
So that's the good thing about getting the train. Dry.
The Great Escape Festival has brought bad weather to Brighton.
Yeah.
Some bad music and some bad weather. No, I'm joking. We love it all. So tonight, inspired by the fact I saw Jay Cross himself post up on his Twitter at JAYBN1 a picture of loads and loads of Gibson Hollowbodies on our wall at the moment. I realised that I don't even know what some of them are, and we should talk about them.
It surprised me actually, because we got today the thing that sort of inspired it was without wanting to just sort of usurp you, I'm just going to sort of jump ahead here. The thing that inspired it was I got out on the wall, put out on the wall a 359, a Gibson 359, which I've not seen for ages. I think it's been well over a year since we last had one. And they're so good. They're so good, but they're just different. They're a little bit different to what you'd expect. They're a little bit different to what you'd expect, even from a normal 339. And I guess we'll talk about it in a bit. But I put it up there, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's a 359, and we've got a 339 there, and oh, there's a 335 and a one. There's so many, and I counted, and we had 9 different Gibson Hollowbodies, which is pretty incredible considering Gibson have been saying throughout all of 2014, nah mate, we're just doing Les Pauls and SGs this year. And maybe 335s.
I think the key thing there is that they're made in a different place, aren't they, than most of the Les Pauls?
Yeah, they're mainly made in Memphis, which was a change that happened relatively recently. They've moved production of pretty much all of the Hollowbodies to the factory where they make the acoustic guitars, which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
But there are still some that are made in Nashville. The what's the one that we've got up on the wall at the moment? That's in Nashville.
The one in Beauty of the Burst. I can't think what the year is now.
Isn't it is it like a 60th anniversary?
I think 50th anniversary 1960 or something like that.
I think it might. Is it the 63s? Are they still
64? Maybe.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but that's one of the only few. They're like. Even though they're all custom shop in a sense and they come from Memphis, the Nashville ones are like Nashville custom shop.
Yeah.
But they're reserving it for like a specialist limited, really small run models basically.
So, from looking at those models on the wall, there's a few that I recognise straight off the bat. So, I think it'd be good let's do a rundown of what we've kind of got and what's available on the Gibson Hollowbodies, and just let people know like what the differences are, what you're getting at kind of what price point.
Yeah.
I think the best. Let's do the obvious one. So the 335.
Well, I don't think it's that easy actually, because there's still there's quite a lot of options available with 335s right now. So you've got your sort of what I guess you'd consider the standard 335, which is like figured top, available in cherry, sunburst, or natural.
Yeah.
And they've got 57 classics. The neck profile is usually a 60s profile.
Yeah.
Relatively similar to what you'd expect from a Les Paul standard. But then there's quite a few other options there, like especially within the last year, we've seen a lot of signature models come through, which radically changed the guitar. I mean, there was the Chris Cornells last year, that had TV Joneses in.
Yeah.
There's What else?
got the
have we
Rusty
had?
Anderson.
The Rusty Anderson.
I noticed there's quite a few signature model 335s now, probably even more than there are Les Pauls at the moment.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Warren Hayes.
Warren Hayes.
Yeah, the Trini Lopez.
Although that's not really a 335,
but it is a signature Hollowbody.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't think it's quite as easy as just saying, oh yeah, cool, you can get a 335, because there's so many. Also with that, there's the BB King, the Lucille, which is very similar to a 335, but
no F holes.
No F holes, and
So if someone was just going to say, someone has decided they want to buy a 335, what would you, if they walk through the door saying that, what would you point them towards? On the lower end of the pricing, I know there's the satin ones.
That was the next thing I was going to bring up. The only difference between the satin finished 325s, well, on the face of it, the only difference is the aesthetics.
Yep.
They use a satin. It's a satin gloss rather than a high gloss, and it's kind of in the same way as the LPJs were. Designed to be Les Pauls, but didn't quite look as nice. Yeah, that's kind of the theory behind the satin 335s. They're about 1,600 quid, so relatively cheap for not only a.
I think we've got the actual price. Yeah, I think they're not only 50.
I think they're 15.99. Not only for a custom shop, but for even for a 335, that's super cheap.
Yeah. So they're a bit more than that, actually. 17.99.
Oh, okay, cool. 17.99. But other than that, they are it's what you're paying for. The extra is the high gloss, which is just the raw materials to produce that high gloss is super expensive.
Well, and the time, we've talked about this before, but satin guitars, can usually get done in a day or a bit more than that. Yeah. And then, gloss guitars can take from 3 days to 10 days or something like that.
And then you've got the expensive, the super expensive, figured maple cap.
Yep.
Which is, again, a huge cost. It's so you can see where the money is, and it kind of depends on where the priorities are. If you want something that gives you that proper look, the proper gleamy, then you won't get it from the satin one.
I was just having a look through the spec actually. So the spec, that and like a standard 335, they are exactly the same, aren't they?
Both use 57 classics.
Classic 57, still the Tone Pro bridge, but it is just that you miss out on that kind of craftsmanship of the gloss and the more expensive maple.
I think it's like an £1,100 difference. I think it's 2,899 for the figured and gloss top one.
Yeah. I don't think they're that much, are they? I thought it was more. I thought that they were. I think they're 2,399.
I don't think I printed that off, but yeah.
Actually, no. If you want a gloss plain top, but if you want a gloss figure top, I think they're more money.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of the signature models are obviously available. What's currently on the wall at the moment, and what's coming in? I know we've got the Warren Haynes on the wall. Is that right?
That's not actually on the wall. That's coming in tomorrow.
Okay.
They only got delivered relatively recently.
What's the difference on that one?
The one is that based on his 63? I think.
I think it's a 61 actually. Seeing as we've not had it here, I haven't had a chance to sit down and have
Warren Haynes, 1961 ES335.
Okay.
So in terms of pickups, let's have a look. So we've got burst buckle 1 and 2s, Black Beauty capacitors in there. Still everything else that you'd expect. Mickey Mouse cutaways, so that means the shape of the horn is slightly different. Is that a kind of hangover from an early 60s 335?
I think was it a period changeover from a 59 to a 60?
Okay.
I can't remember. My Gibson.
Oh yeah, here we go.
The
the transitional 59 to 60 shape.
Yes. Yes.
So the difference between this and a normal 61 reissue is that 61 reissue would normally not have that shape, and would also have a really slim neck. But this has actually got quite a chunky neck.
Yeah.
And like you say, none of us have had the chance to play it yet.
Yeah. They literally are coming in tomorrow morning. But I mean, from the sound of it and what you'd kind of expect is, the burst buckle 1 and 2s. It's the same the same pickups that you get in a Les Paul standard.
Yeah.
Quite modern sounding, which isn't something you'd normally get with a 335. So if you want that sort of the classic look of a 335, but want something that, in terms of playability and in the way that it sounds, is more sort of ballsy, I guess, more sort of drivey, then you'd probably want to be go for one of those rather than go for one of the standard ones.
So yeah, I mean it's kind of a bit of a mishmash, isn't it? Because it is a mix of that kind of vintage shape, or a couple of different vintage shapes in terms of the neck and the cutaways, and the modern A really interesting guitar, that.
Yeah.
Let's just quickly talk about the Trini Lopez, which is
they've been so popular this year.
Well, yeah. I mean,
they were only limited. They were limited to what, 250?
I think we got 4.
Well, we got 2, and then that was going to be it. And then
they sold immediately.
And then we managed to get, I think, another shop had either cancelled their order or something, so we got another 2, and one of them's already gone, so we've got 1 left. But they are super nice. The one I sold one, and the guy who bought it has actually got an original one.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason he bought the reissue was because he didn't want to take his original one out anymore. And
What's
he actually said,
Trini Lopez.
I don't know. I think it's just called
Trini Lopez.
It's just called Trini Lopez.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's
It was one of the
incredible.
really early signatures. I mean,
It was. I remember when I first started getting into guitar, I remember getting a book about like 60s guitars. It was just essentially like a picture book that just showed you like loads and loads of iconic guitars, and that was the one in there. And it's one that just really stuck out because it has got a really iconic look, like the diamond inlays and the Firebird headstock and things like that. Yeah, it's good to see them semi back in the range. You know.
I always thought there was a.
If they did an Epiphone one, we'd sell loads of the Gibson ones, but it's nice they've kept it limited. But if they did, I mean, when they did the Dave Grohl one, which was the one he played for a while, which was based on, but in Pelham Blue.
Did we ever get one of those? I can't remember.
Yeah,
just went straight away.
I mean, when we say we got one, I mean, we took delivery of it and then sent it on to someone. But yeah.
I just that's really incredible, really, because I mean, think about. That's like a proper signature. You know, who else has just got a guitar named after him? No model number.
Yep.
You've got Les Paul, BB King.
No, that's called the Lucille.
Yeah, but it's not called. Yeah, but it's the BB King Lucille, isn't it? It's not the Gibson 335 BB King Lucille.
Yeah.
It's the and he named that.
Yep.
And then you've got the Trini Lopez. Are there any others that are just
a model number?
No, that are not a model number.
No, just
like
a
guitar.
The name is the model of.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you can think of any, podcast@gak.co.uk.
That's pretty cool, though, isn't it? I hadn't really thought about that. I thought it had a model number.
Yeah, normally they're given like a.
Even just like
even if it's just Chris Cornell 335.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Yeah, okay.
Just to confirm, price on the 335 gloss top, I've just found my notes with that on, 2299.
Yeah.
But that's not gloss
That's
figures.
for the plain top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's actually the price there is for the gold top one, which I think looks awesome.
Yeah, if you're going to have something, you should really have it in gold.
It's like so bling. Gold. It's gold. Is it gold pickup covers as well?
No, I think
it's chrome hardware. But what's nice about that sort of gold is it's not heavy flake. It's more like
it's like a
metallic
gold. It's like a gold
it's
top,
like a gold
isn't it?
top.
Yeah, metallic gold.
Yeah.
Definitely right.
Which I prefer than. Well, actually, saying that I've got a gold sparkle guitar.
Yeah. It's definitely more.
But generally, like, it's a little bit more appealing to like a mass market than Matt's market, which is just
the mass market.
The mass market rather than the Matt's market.
I think that's a new feature we should do. Mass market, we talk about things that you can like buy and everyone's got. Matt's market, we talk about stuff that makes such a stupid noise that only you would buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the Max MSP setup we were talking about earlier.
Oh God! How to use your effects with a Nintendo Wii controller and things like that.
Which we'll get into later, which answers a question, I think.
Yes.
But going on that, just something that's sprung to mind off of that price. Also for that price, which we don't have here yet, is another one that's coming in tomorrow, is the 335 12 string.
I saw this on the stock list and I was like, what?
Yes, it's the 335 12 string, and the thing that I really like about this is it's not just a standard 335 with with a big jangly 12 string. It's a 335 12 string with a trapeze bridge.
Yes.
So big, super jangly, like really resonant.
How are you going to restring that? Do they just hook
very
on
carefully?
underneath?
Yeah, so they hook underneath, and then you pull them up to tension. That brings the trapeze up. I mean, I guess it would be a bit like a Floyd Rose, and you'd have to go back and forth tuning. I mean, that's a big investment going for a 12. I mean, it's a big like monetary investment, but also that's a big commitment to a guitar.
Mass market or mass market.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely on mass market.
One string at a time, you'll be fine.
So
just change the strings. When was the last time someone changed the strings on their Rickenbacker? 12 string. You just leave it.
That's fine, because what you want from that is like a really dead sort of old string tone.
Yeah, that's exactly what those 360s are made for.
Slightly off topic, actually. I didn't realise until someone came in and asked for them that they are strung up with their own particular type of string.
Yes, they are indeed.
Rickenbacker strings, which are not pressure wound, not flat wounds. They're like some other wind, but they're like flat on top and then rounded underneath.
Yes.
How does that work? How do you know which way around you're supposed to put them in?
I don't know. Well, mate, I don't know. He was like, yeah, do you sell... This guy was asking if we sold Rickenbacker strings. And he went, they're not quite flat wounds, but they're not quite like...
As far as I'm aware, the closest thing that they're similar to are like pressure wounds. So they're like loads and loads of windings, but wound at such high like pressure that you get like... That's why they're so like bright and zingy.
Yeah.
It's because there's loads more... windings on there.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can even buy them separately. I don't know. But I mean, to be honest, whenever I've restrung one, just using a set of Ernie Balls or Daddario seems to have done the job anyway.
Jangly, bright, nice. I didn't realise, and I thought I'd throw that out there in case.
Yeah. The Rickenbacker's own strings, and they do feel weird when you pick one up. There's definitely something different about those strings.
Yeah, 100%.
Jay, tell us about this 12-string 335 then. What's the spec?
Again, it's Burstbacker 1 and 2s, which is kind of interesting and kind of not what I guess you'd expect from something like that.
The thing is, you find
more clean headroom on those, though, isn't there?
Well, yeah, but because obviously most... Well, Les Paul standards are actually Burstbacker Pros, which are slightly higher output.
Yeah.
Burstbacker 1 and 2s were what you used to find on old custom shops.
Which are low output, like a modern, fairly modern pickup, I guess.
And they're, well, I suppose in between, because now they use custom buckers on the custom shop. So they're kind of like a woolier bottom end on the neck, but then quite a bright sound on the bridge.
Yeah, so that makes sense on the 12 string.
But they're not like, because they're not super high output, but you get slightly more clarity, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're both core splittable. Both pickups are core splittable.
So you can get really jangly, fendery tones, I guess.
Wow. That will be jangly.
Yeah.
I want to play that guitar. I wish we'd done this podcast. I didn't realise this stuff wasn't here on the wall, so I wish we'd done this podcast when you had your hands on them.
They are really doing some really... I think because...
It's so weird, isn't it?
I think it's because... I remember when I spoke to... I think Nick from Gibson was saying that people were asking for more 335s, but the current factory couldn't really do it. I think the total more percentage was being focused on side bodies. So they said, well, hold on, in the Memphis factory there's a large percent of the factory we're not using. Why don't you shift 335 or hollow body production to there, and then you can output a lot more.
And they're just doing a lot, because this is a Memphis one, and just the stuff that's come. One of the things that I'm a little bit wary of is that I don't want people to think that the Memphis factory is some sort of subpar factory.
No,
it really isn't.
Well, when you look at the craft of the acoustics,
well, absolutely. Pick up a Hummingbird and say that it's not built to the same spec as a Les Paul Custom. They really are, and just the stuff that's coming out of there is so good and also really interesting, which is from a very, very selfish point of view, really cool for us.
Yes,
it's
so many times you can pick up a stock Les Paul standard and go, wow, this is amazing, even though it is. Yeah, you've just, when you've played them all, they're all quite similar, and that speaks to Gibson's kind of recent consistency in that 100%. The Les Paul standards are all very spot on. So yeah, it's really nice for something like a 12-string 335 to come in. I mean, just bonkers. I want to see the person who buys it. I want to meet them and shake their hand.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Just 12-string. I sort of want one, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for someone to do what I really want is a 9-string.
What
I really want is someone to do a 9-string, but not a wide, not how low can you go, extended range 9-string, a 9-string where only the top 3 are doubled.
Yeah. That's similar to how Taylor were doing like the baritone acoustics.
Yeah, exactly that. That guitar's brilliant.
But I want it so bad. The 8-string baritone. Probably the best acoustic I've ever heard in my life.
It sounds bonkers, but it really works, doesn't it? Let's quickly talk about some of the other like semi-hollow guitars coming out of Gibson at the moment.
Well, we mentioned last week my staff pick was the 139.
Yes.
Was it last week or was it the week before? I think it was last week.
Well, let's do the kind of more jazzy ones in a sec. Yeah. The other one I wanted to pick out was the 339. Yeah. Which
awesome guitars.
And 336.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The rarer 336.
Yeah, so what's the deal with these? A lot of people come in and go, I want to know about this. Like, I've seen 335s, I've seen Les Pauls. What's this? Well, I don't really understand
basically,
what it is.
339s, like a friend, actually, the first time I encountered them was probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and a friend of mine bought a 336 from America.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. And then when I'd been working here for a little while, then 339 started coming in. So, in a sense, 339 is exactly the same construction as a 335, effectively built to a Les Paul body scale. Same pickups, slightly different neck profile. They used to do a slim and then like a fat profile. Same pickups, same scale length. It's just the body size is reduced.
Yes.
So obviously the construction is pressed laminate maple, back and sides, and top. Where a 336 is one solid mahogany body that's carved, routed with a maple top.
So more like a Les Paul construction, basically, which is why they're more money as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot more that go, because you're working to one solid piece, basically.
Yes. So there is a bit of a history to it. Like you said, your friend bought one from the States.
Yeah.
I know someone who also bought one, and it was from a time when the regular Hollowbodies, the 335s, weren't custom shop.
Yeah,
they were normal production line. Yeah. And then 336s were a custom shop kind of oddity, really.
Because their serial number is not ES, it's CS. The 336. I think the 336s are always CS,
I think they always come from Nashville. I think I'm not 100% on that. I don't think the 336s come from Memphis.
Right. Well, I don't think we've had a 336 since production has moved to Memphis.
We had a blue one not so long ago.
Really? I thought that was
we had a pale blue one. No, it was only about a few months ago because I sold it.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, I didn't check, but the if it comes from Memphis, they usually say in the little sticker inside. Yeah. And I'm almost certain that is not. I think that's a Nashville one.
What's the difference between the two kind of shrunken Hollowbodies then? Between the 336 and the 339, apart, I mean, tonally, how does that kind of build affect them?
If I remember, 336 is a little bit heavier because of the mahogany body, but 339s, do you know what? Surprisingly super bassy. Yeah. Like they've really got loads of bottom end, and the sustain is amazing. 336s, I don't know, to me, didn't have as much sustain, but it had a more well-rounded sound.
Yes, I think that they're strangely kind of sprightly. I think it almost works in the opposite way than you'd think.
Yeah, I think so. I think
339s are almost like a bit bassier and bigger.
Yeah,
and 336s maybe got a bit more clarity and like. They're a bit more zippy.
I think it's because they're almost like Les Pauls, really, like almost like chambered Les Pauls, but almost a different body shape. Where 339s feel more like a 335 in terms of you kind of got that really warm bottom end. But I mean, they're just a great series of guitars, and then other ones have sprung from that. Like we had a 390, which was the totally hollow version.
Like a. Didn't it have mini humbuckers?
It had mini humbuckers and it was totally hollow.
I think that was because they couldn't fit two P90s in there or something.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, it would be like the 330. I guess is kind of what they were going for. The 335 that's all hollow body, but then, or maybe it's like a small Riviera. I guess what they were actually going for. Mini humbuckers, but with the full.
I'm waiting for him to do the one. Well, I suppose actually we'll probably get to it in a minute. But they haven't really ever done anything like a 125 yet, which are like the thin-lined jazz box kind of ones.
Yeah. Well, I haven't done that on a smaller scale, you mean?
Yeah, they haven't done that because that would be quite cool. And I think that's almost what the 390 is, because totally hollow. I mean, it was so loud unplugged.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guitar was great.
And I mean, that was $12.99. I mean, that's just like an insane price
for a custom shop guitar. It's absolutely.
I mean, considering that a 339 is what $17.99.
We've talked about it before, haven't we? Where Gibson occasionally do these mad things, and then they work out like much cheaper than you would imagine.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time they're just kind of like dipping their toe in the water and going, "Could we make this as a full production model?"
Well, I mean, that's just like the 139 that I did last week as my staff pick, which was the kind of Les Paul shaped. But 339 size, I guess, kind of. It's like an oversized Les Paul, semi-hollow, 57 Classics. Just really cool, like Les Paul, but bigger. Les Paul, but more.
Well, I mean, and in terms of the other 339s, obviously we've got the 339 Traditional Pro,
which again is
like,
different.
Which is like the Les Paul. Pro 2s that came out end of last year, this year, that have got the coil taps and the 10 dB boost. So it's a 339 that's chambered with no F-holes, but with all the Pro 2 electronics.
Yeah. They're push-push as well, rather than push-pull, which I think
that's a really mad guitar. That's a really mad guitar. When you lay it out like that, it's a small...
gloss top and satin back as well.
If you're going from the kind of archetype of what a normal 335 is, you have to go, so it's Les Paul size, but it's fully hollow, but it doesn't have any F-holes, and it's got coil taps on push-push controls. Yeah,
and you've also got a 10 dB boost if you want to have a 9-volt battery in the back.
Basically, the way that I would describe it would be, if you wanted a traditional Pro 2, but you wanted it to look like a 335 or a 339, because that's effectively all it is. They've changed the body shape, but at 1549.
Yeah, I mean it's absolute bananas. The amount of stuff that you get.
I think the only thing is you probably lose maybe some more of that kind of traditional hollow body sound, and you kind of go for something maybe more
it's not
full on.
I would say it's a much more kind of modern sounding guitar.
Yeah,
particularly if you've kicked in the 10 dB boost.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think if you're wanting that 10 dB boost, you necessarily want the traditional hollow body sound.
That though, Clapton's got active boost on his Strat, and you would have thought, the man with one of the most classic guitar sounds uses a active mid boost. Then
that's a very, very fair point. Very fair point. Matt Knight, good at fair points.
Yep. Well,
great points.
Great points.
So one of the other kind of oddities on the wall actually kind of takes us nicely into more of the kind of jazz box territory, I guess. And it's a design. I'm not sure I really know where it comes from. ES195.
I suppose
has it ever been a production guitar before?
I suppose what we should say is, as far as my knowledge goes, and you might correct me here, but the numbers are related to the original cost, I think, a lot of the time, because
I don't know
ES was electric Spanish, wasn't it? So, and I'm almost certain that because things like the 125, which were a one neck pickup P90'd hollow body, were student guitars, and they were like, I think, $125, and I think a 335 was $335.
That's true.
So I
don't think it's.
Is that true?
Yeah, I'm almost certain that is.
I'm relatively certain that that's true.
But
as well.
obviously now that's not related to now.
Well, absolutely, and they sort of have gone on from that.
Yeah.
So like when you get like a 355, the number 5 in the middle has come to mean something different.
Yeah.
Which is why if you've got a 359 or a 356 or a 355, you sort of have an idea of what you're going to get, which is sort of a Les Paul
custom. What does that denote then? Does it kind of denote the veritone, or is it?
No, it doesn't. There isn't. Generally, I don't think there's a veritone on the 3.5 guitars. Generally, the 3.5 denotes that it's a ebony guitar with an ebony fingerboard.
And custom inlay. It's the custom, so it's the triple edge bound.
Yeah, the triple edge bound, the purloin inlays, and gold hardware.
I'd imagine, although I don't know for certain, they're doing it in a way similar to how Taylor do theirs, 110s, 814, whatever. So you've got body size, shape, and wood.
Woods. Generally, the woods are on Taylor's. The series denotes the wood. So it's like the 8 series is a particular type of wood, and the 1 series is a different particular wood, and then the numbers within that dictate like body shape and some of the features and stuff as well. So, but the guitar that I kind of picked out that really is, I think, is deceptively odd for Gibson, is the ES195, which almost owes a debt, I would say, more to kind of Gretsch.
I don't know, because I look at it like as a 175 with P100s.
Yeah, but it's got a Bigsby and a Firebird headstock. It's really like, I would just think if you were looking at like a rock and roll guitar, they even describe it actually on the blurb here as a rock and roll machine.
Well, actually, funny enough, we sold one today.
Oh, really?
To a guy who'd already got I think he had a White Falcon. Yeah. And he was like, I want another one, but I don't want a White Falcon.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the perfect guitar then.
Yeah. It's so. we should mention that the guitars we're talking about now, and when we say like jazz box, we're talking about that generally that single cutaway rather than the double cutaway that's on the 335s or 339s or 336s. Generally a larger body, generally F holes. Some of them are kind of deeper, some of them are kind of not. So
and they're not normally centre blocked either, so totally hollow. Yeah,
so the 195 is a kind of same depth as something like a 335, is that right?
No, they're deeper than a 335, but they're not as deep as a 175.
Right, okay. Fine.
They're somewhere in the middle,
which is good because one of the concerns when you're looking at these kind of guitars is feedback. Obviously, and the deeper the body gets, the more prone it's going to be to feedback. Tell me about these. What are they called? H100s or P100 pickups?
No, they're P94s.
Oh,
are
okay.
they P94s? Are they?
Yeah, they're P94s.
I am not. To be honest, I'm not 100% because it's like these new sidewinder pickups they've put in the Melody Makers. I think they're just an altered P90.
Yeah, it's basically just a P90 that fits in a regular humbucker shape.
Are they wound slightly differently?
No, I'm almost certain they're wound the same. I think it's just aesthetically they look different.
No, here's what Gibson say themselves. Okay. To take you from roaring rock and roll to warm purring jazz and spanking twanging country. The ES195 is equipped with Gibson's popular P94 pickups, modified to give you hum-cancelling performance when played together.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So they're P90s, but they've obviously reverse wound.
But they're in a humbucker box, and then reverse wound them so that when they're both on, you get hum-cancelling.
Right, okay, yeah.
I think that's a cool guitar.
Yeah.
And I think actually that could be in the catalogue for a while. I think they're sort of limited at the moment.
We've had a few. We've got the black one in stock now, and we actually ordered a different colour for a guy, and it only took a couple months. Not even a couple months. I think it was almost in stock because they do trans amber and black, and I think you can get sunburst, but I'm not.
The trans amber one is particularly eye-catching, particularly if you're a Gretsch player, because it looks like a kind of like country gent or something. It's that kind of colour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's round up this trawl through the Gibson Hollowbody guitars.
We've spoken a lot about
Hollowbodies.
Like what? Just like a lot of actual
guitars this week.
Rather than just sort of having a go at Joe Branton.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird when he's not here, isn't it? Because we actually talk about stuff.
Let's do one more. This one is one of the most expensive Hollowbodies we do, but it's absolutely stunning. The 59 175 VOS.
Probably my favourite, I would have thought.
Yeah, 1955 reissue, ES175, vintage original spec. Tell us about it, Matty.
Well, actually, it's worth pointing out as well, they do two different types.
Oh, yeah.
They do the Voss 59, single pickup or double pickup. And the single pickup one is wicked. Just because, I mean, you know, as J Cross says, why would you need more than one pickup?
Well, I mean,
yeah, but Jay's opposed to neck pickups though. So where does that put us in this? On this?
I mean, this is
a tough one.
I prefer. I mean, obviously, I prefer the two pickup one in this instance.
I mean, I really just like that huge, big jazz sound because it's just so warm and. I'm not really an acoustic player. And if I had the money, I'd rather have a 175 and still just plug it in.
Yeah.
And actually, they sound really good into like a solid state amp.
Yeah.
Like some, like we've had a guy plugged into the Ibanez whole tone, which is like a 50 watt solid state amp. Because
you get the whole tone.
Yeah.
With that amp.
I've not heard of those.
Yeah, they're like a 50 watt. They're like a jazzer amp because you know, like a lot of like jazz session guys use. Like solid state amps because of the amount of clean headroom and.
Well, no, a lot of jazz guys were quite fond of like JC120s, but also things like the Jazz Cubes, like that were a precursor to the current Roland Cubes.
Yeah.
Just because they stay super clean all the way up. And is that the idea behind this Ibanez as well? Yeah,
I think so. 50 watts, super clean. Just like, I mean, you plug it in, it's just jazz tones through and through.
Really? And digital reverb and chorus. So it's kind of going for that sort of JC120 type market, but I think it's it looks more like a the AER series.
Okay, little like Jazz Cube sort of.
Yeah, I really like the AER amps. The Compact 60, and isn't there a Domino? Is that the other?
They do a few different compacts as well.
Yeah.
Primarily acoustic amps, but again, because they stay nice and clean, good for kind of jazz.
Really good.
But yeah, going back to the 175, what with this one as well, one of the main things is one of the guys who works for Gibson owns. I remember Nick from Gibson telling me this, that one of the guys owns an original 1959 175.
Wow.
And he bought it in, and they were like, right, so if we do a 175 and we're going to do a vintage spec one, then here's a real one. Let's make it same. And they found that they were doing things like the tulip machine heads, they were doing them in the wrong colour. They found out that they were doing like the tailpieces at the wrong size, that the frets were slightly different, how they were doing the pots were different, and they were like, we thought we were like pretty close, but now we've got an original one. And obviously, apart from sawing it in half, everything's been scaled to kind of basically match that. So they've basically built his guitar over and over, and now they've got it as effectively almost like a standard model.
That's the key to getting these right, isn't it? Is to get your hands on an actual old one.
And I mean, one of the keys.
Saw it off.
And just smash it up.
Well, I mean, when Fender took over Gretsch, that's what they did. They got original ones and butchered them effectively, because one of the biggest things that people care about with that sort of thing,
is the bracing.
Is the bracing and how they're actually built from the inside.
Yeah.
And this is all proper 59 bracing, it's proper rosewood bridge. It's all just really nice crafted. And the thing I like about it the most is it's Voss rather than gloss, so it feels a little bit more worn in, it feels a little bit more aged. And I mean, it might be £3,400, but to me, you can feel the quality and you can see the quality, and that's what I like almost about acoustic instruments. I don't know, there's something about it when you see like a really expensive Taylor and you're like,
I know what you mean.
I don't know, it's almost like kind of like being able to see the wood in its kind of, it's almost like its natural colour, and I don't know, there's something about acoustic instruments that
it really just the Gibson really just oozes class, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like a really good looking guitar.
I mean, I'm slightly different, but last year I got to see an original up close, an original Stradivarius violin. And I mean, you just look at that and you're just like, the craftsmanship in that is just amazing. And the same sort of thing when you get to Gibson and brands like that, is that they really go to that kind of super level of detail. It's just so nice to be able to go out and buy an instrument now that you're never going to get an original one, but go out and buy something that is as close as you're ever going to get, really.
How much was the original Stradivarius?
Well, that one, because it was a super high-profile art show, none of the prices are on display. But
if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
I've got a feeling that one was actually there on loan just for part of the display. But most of the Stradivarius violins, as far as I'm aware, have all got names, and they're all kind of widely known within the thing. But I think 17 million was the one went for, something like that. That was called the Hammer, I think. But there's a weird story behind it. Was that he made I think 1,000 instruments in his time, and the wood that he used, there had been like a particularly harsh winter for about 8 or 9 years, which hardened all the maple. So all the flame maple they use for the necks is super tight grain, but the wood is really dense, so it's super resonant, and that's why they're so revered.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just need an apocalyptic
well, the thing
winter.
Is, basically, no one who plays a Stradivarius actually owns a Stradivarius. They get bought by big companies and they get loaned out generally.
Because they need to be played, don't they, in order to keep
they'll not disintegrate, but the same as an acoustic now. If you bought a pre-war Martin D45, you bought a nearly 100-year-old Martin, for example, and then you went, yeah, cool, brilliant, yeah, I paid £200,000 for that, great investment, stick it in a case. If you got it out of the case 10 years later, it would be awful. It would probably like bend out of shape and
they've just got
you've got to play them and maintain them, because that wood needs to vibrate, it needs to move, it needs to age. Otherwise, it's just not. I think that's why sometimes when we see second-hand guitars that have sat in a case for so long, they don't feel as nice.
No. Totally agree. Even if they're in decent condition and they've up until the point they've been put in the case.
Yeah.
You just need to play the guitar
I think
to
that's
keep
the thing,
it alive.
I always think, if I won the lottery, go out and buy. You see Fender. You see them more than Gibsons, but you see Fender Strats with original hanging tags in original extra cases, and you think, and like never played, and as people put museum quality, but for that I'd rather go and buy a NOS custom shop, because £80,000-90,000 I might spend on that for something that's never been played is probably not going to be as nice as...
Get yourself 40 custom shops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's just, if you've got an old guitar, don't retire it.
Yeah,
keep playing it. Should we do some staff picks, gents?
Yeah.
J Cross, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I mean, I don't really want to sound sort of like a broken record, considering we've just been talking about Gibsons for the last half hour or so. But I'm going to talk about Gibson.
Okay. You're more than welcome. It's a free country.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the permission, host.
Yeah. Just so you know who's in charge.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. No. You're right. Yeah. What I've been playing this week that I have been really into is the Les Paul Studio Plus or Pro.
Okay.
Plus Pro.
Plus.
I did have to.
Pro
the Pro Plus.
too much
It just
Pro
wakes
Plus.
you up.
Sounds like you need a Pro Plus.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. No, the Les Paul Studio Pro. Which is really, really cool. I'm really, really into these. So what they are is they are sort of an amalgamation of a few different studios and standards and traditionals, and they're sort of neither here nor there, but they're sort of everywhere.
Here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. No. Neither here nor there, but everywhere.
Right, but everywhere. Okay,
Yeah. So what you've got is it's essentially a double A flame Les Paul Studio, but what you've got that I think makes it really interesting is you've got a 57 Classic in the neck and a burst bucker in the bridge.
You don't normally see those two mixed up, do you?
You do not, which is what initially grabbed my attention. So you've got the really nice sort of jazzy tones that you get from the neck pickup on a 335 or a 339, plus the sort of super high output, modern sounding ballsy rock tones that you get from Les Paul Standard.
Is it a Burst Bucker Pro? Did you say?
It is a Burst Bucker Pro.
Right, so the high output one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've just got that really nice mixture of the two, and they work really well, and together they sound absolutely lovely. Really, really lovely. I'm not normally one to cross the streams.
Usually you stick to one pickup at a time.
Yeah, but in this situation they sound really, really good. You've also got, as they are doing with pretty much all of the studios now, they're core splittable.
Yep. 15 dB boost?
No,
not on that.
Not on those ones. No, I did have to remember. No, not on those ones. And they come in some pretty out there colours as well.
I noticed these because even the Sunburst is metallic.
It's like a candy metallic. They also do graphite pearl, which is Matt Knight's favourite colour.
It might be my new favourite colour.
I think graphite pearl, up until the Studio Pro, I think the only guitar that they produced that in was the Midtown Bass.
Oh yeah,
it's the black. Have you seen it? It's the black sparkly one. It kind of looks like a disco ball.
Isn't there a green or a blue sparkle?
They do.
Well?
They do like a blue candy.
Yes.
They do. It's all sort of like candy metallic colours, and they're all really. And there's just also another couple of nice features that you get with it. You get the speed knobs, which I'm really into at the moment.
Yeah.
They're normal volume controls, but they've got sort of studs all around the edge. Just makes it really easy to roll them up and down. And you get a case, which you haven't been getting with studios for the last couple of years, and they're just over £1,000, $10.99, and they're just a really, really. I think one of the things that I've, again, this is sort of from a selfish point of view, I found it quite difficult to recommend Les Paul Studios to people over the last couple of years because the LPJs have been so good.
Yeah.
Such good value for money.
Yep.
And I think it's been kind of difficult to say, well, if you don't really want to spend $2,000, go for an LPJ. But now I think there's a bunch of really viable options in between the sort of £600 mark that you pay for an LPJ and the $2,000 that you pay for a Les Paul Standard.
Yeah, traditionals, classics, studios.
Yeah, and then some of the sort of weirder ones that they're doing at the moment, like the Peace, is really interesting.
The Les Paul Peace, honestly, if you can get over the aesthetic, which will not gel well with everyone.
No.
Seriously, one of the best sounding Les Pauls I've ever heard off the production line.
Yeah,
it's just,
and then there's the Mini Tune Signatures, which are just a sort of standard sort of stripped back Les Paul with the mini tune. But yeah, the Studio Pro is an absolutely brilliant guitar for $1,000. Like really, really good guitar. And yeah, we've got 3 on the wall at the moment, including the Graphite Pearl. And I'm really, really into them. I think they look absolutely stunning. And it's very exciting to have something so different kind of run away with you. I'm really into it.
Matt Knight, what have you been playing this week, and why have you just handed me a picture of a man standing over what looks like 1,000 effects pedals? Is that some sort of world record attempt?
I don't know. Someone just tweeted it with, "Can you dial in my tone for me, please?"
Is there an RE20 in there?
There's not an RE20 on every board.
Actually, funny enough, one of the things I did actually want to talk about hasn't arrived yet, so hopefully it'll be here next week, which is the new Boogie pedals, because I think those
Boogie pedals.
I think they're going to get me back into graphic EQ. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about EQ. But
we'll talk about those next week.
So I was in I don't know, maybe I was daydreaming a bit today, and I was thinking, if I was on a desert island, what would I really want? And
this is so convoluted.
This is like Matt tried to explain this before the podcast, and we were just like, this doesn't work.
This is painful.
The deal that the thing that I really want is a Desert Sand 56 Strat, custom shop Strat, and a Sandy Blues Junior.
I've got to be honest. I think if you were stuck on a desert island, the last thing you'd want is anything sand coloured.
No. Because it would match the decor.
Camouflage.
Match the decor.
The
bleak, expansive desert.
No, not you don't have a desert on a desert island unless it's a
desert island. That's where I want to go.
Yeah,
that's where I want to be stuck.
Trifle Mountain.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Tell us about the new Fender Blues Junior Sandy.
Well, yeah. So basically, it's another limited Blues Junior, but it's probably my favourite. I don't know. It's my favourite looking one.
It looks great.
It's a really nice blonde Tolex Jensen speaker, especially designed for that one. But it just sounds really nice, just really rich, nice and bright. But the main reason I sort of picked that was only because I picked this Desert Sand 56
you wanted to
custom
get
shop.
your stupid desert island pun, whatever it was.
I don't know. It's late. It's been a long day, you know. But anyway, the do you know what? It's not a lot different to a normal 56 custom shop Strat that we'll get off. So more modern spec, like a 9.5-inch board, 6105 frets, fat 50s pickups, 1056 soft fee neck. But there's just something about this particular one that it just feels great. Like
I've not played it, but visually it looks stunning.
But it's just one of the, but I think it's just the reason I want to pick it is it just shows that they're all good guitars, but every now and then you just pick one up and you're like, and it's one of those guitars that you think, yeah, do you know what? If I had the money in my pocket, that's I think I could probably play everyone on there and go, yeah, these are all really nice guitars, some really good ones here, but you just pick up one every now and then. It's really nice. And that's one of them. It's just it's just a great guitar.
I tend to find that with the 50 Strats. I think the 60s are a lot more consistent in that they're all really, really good. But something about the occasional 50 Strat that comes out of the custom shop is just that bit better.
I mean, I'm putting it out there. I'm really tempted to move on my custom shop Rosewood Strat and go for a maple board Strat. I don't know what it is. I'm really into maple boards at the moment. Maple board Strats.
Maple board's the best.
Yep.
Jay?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
just.
I'm a broken record. You know my theory.
I know you prefer tellies to Strats.
Yeah.
Would you play a one pickup Strat?
Yeah, as long as it was only the neck pickup.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe I'll spec that up from the custom shop. Can you do me like
one pickup Strat? We were talking about a similar thing briefly in the office today. In that one of the guys in the office never uses the middle pickup, and I said to him, "Do you remember when that guy from A? Do you remember that band?
Yeah.
He was just playing a 2 pickup neck and bridge Strat, and it was just." It was too weird to look at. I think if I was in that position where I never used the middle pickup, and
I'd still want to see it there.
Even if I just put in a 3-way switch that was just neck, both, or bridge, I'd still want to see the middle pickup.
That is a good idea. I'm just putting it out there. That is a good idea. A three-way switch that just gives you neck, both, and then
Two
bridge.
words. Ritchie Blackmore Strat. That's 3
Of course.
words.
I was going to say. I was sure of that.
But the Ace Frehley, what was that Les Paul called? The
Budokan.
Budokan, because that was a 3 pickup Les Paul, but only 2 of the pickups worked.
Yeah.
That was cool.
To be fair, in Kiss, I mean, it's more about the visuals than anything.
Yeah. But yeah, if you try the Ritchie Blackmore Strat, I believe that's got that set up. I think it's 3-way switch, which is neck, both, bridge.
Because I looked at it the other day and went, oh yeah, it's got a dummy pickup in the middle.
It's not a real pickup. Did you know that?
It's also
I don't think I did know that,
scalloped
actually.
fretboard from like the 15th fret up, isn't it?
Yeah, very
it's
weird
weird,
guitar.
That is a weird
It's good.
guitar.
Sounds good though. We did a video of it for the site.
It's a shame he just plays mandolin now.
Yeah. So this week I have mainly been playing, and I've been doing a lot of listening to the new Line 6 Amplify FX100. Now the reason I have is that Paul from Line 6 came in and did a demo really and did a rundown. This is a brand new product. It's basically taking the idea of the Line 6 amplifiers that we've talked about quite a lot before, that were kind of everything built into a 5-speaker amp, and turning it into a floor-based multi-effects, but using the same concept. So using all the Amplify library of tones, using the connectivity with like iOS devices to edit and kind of choose the library of sounds.
Yeah.
And also it will do. So you connect via Bluetooth to your iOS device, and it will stream your music that you can jam along to. You sat in on the demo. What did you think of it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first question I asked, and I think that most people are going to ask, is why now bring out that when they've brought out the amp? Surely they're the same thing. Wouldn't you just buy the FX100 and just plug it into your
Well, I think
amp? And
I was going to say, actually, the first bit of confusion to get over is that it's not a controller for the Amplify.
No.
Because a lot of people I've noticed this online, a lot of people are like, oh, cool, yeah, I've got a foot switch for the Amplify that I bought. It's like, no, this doesn't do that. There is a product that does that, the Line 6 FBV shortboard.
Yeah.
This doesn't do that. It's essentially the Amplify without an amp and speakers.
And actually, after viewing the demo, I can see why you would probably have both. You would have the amplifier at home, always have it Bluetoothed up to your computer or because the nice thing about the amplifier is that anything can Bluetooth to it. It doesn't have to be a phone if you just want to play music or whatever through it. So you can have that at home because the app gives you all your tones, whatever you Bluetooth to it, amplify, be it floorboard or amp, you can dial up the same tones. So you can mess around at home, dial everything in the amp, take the floorboard, and then just hook up the amplify app, and all your tones are ready to go in 100 presets. And yeah, I mean, the sounds are great, easy to use. I mean, I'm getting more and more into it. Every time I demo it for someone, I get more and more into it.
Definitely. And I think one of the reasons for that is that the app keeps getting better and better, more stuff added to it.
Well, when we demoed it yesterday, it had that new feature in, which was the tone search, which wasn't there a week ago, which is the fact that any artist you want to hear, you don't have to tone match it to something in your library. You can just search for it.
Yeah, so the example that we did, we wanted to get a Prince guitar sound, just typed in Prince, and it came up with loads of songs, didn't it? That then you could then go through and find.
The people had programmed in particular songs.
Previously, you would have had to have that song in your iTunes library, play the song, it would have found the sound for you, and then you play along. But this, you've just got a great, just a search feature within the Amplify
Which is
library.
nice if you play along to backing tracks, because backing tracks might not have the same data as the actual track that iTunes provides.
Yes.
So it won't necessarily search the cloud correctly. But yeah, I mean, you know, it is a really great product. And actually, the thing that I rate over the FX100 is the fact that you've got the extra outputs. Headphone output.
Wait, that you rate over the normal amplifier?
Yeah, over the normal amplifier. So you've got headphone output, which you do have on the amplifier, but the main thing is you've got the left and right out that send audio, so you can plug into your hi-fi, and then you can still go amp out into a normal guitar amp, which will only send the effector signal, and the audio will just go into your hi-fi. I mean, that's just brilliant.
I think that the difference between the two products, if you go for the Amplify amps, you're going all in on that product. You're going, this is the amp that I want at home, I'll play the music through this, and I'll play my guitar through this, and I'll use it, I'll use the whole thing. With the FX100, I think it's a better product for someone who wants to play along with songs that they like, but they want to use an amp they've already got. Like you're saying, the clever thing about the outputs is that the main left and right, if you've just got those plugged in, you'll get the guitar sound and the Bluetooth audio. If you then plug in the amp out, it will split the signal and it will send just the guitar tone out of the amp out and then the audio out, the Bluetooth audio out of the left and right. So it means you could either go out to a PA if you were doing like backing tracks. So you could have your backing tracks coming out the left and right out into your PA, but still have your guitar signal coming out of your guitar amp. Or like you say at home, you could run the left and right output out to the hi-fi and then still plug in your normal guitar amp at home.
I definitely think it's got a place, and it's really interesting. Like this is actually the first I've heard of it because I couldn't do I wasn't around for the training. But I definitely think it's got a place, and it does. It sounds really, really cool, and I'd really like to get my hands on it.
I think it's just about turning people onto it. Really, that it's not a product you would necessarily think. And so many people go, yeah, but what if I haven't got my internet connection? And that's the thing, is that you don't need it.
And also you don't even. The other great thing about this is that you don't need the iPad to use it necessarily. And like you're saying, I can see a system where perhaps at home, if someone's got an amplify, they'll like go through and they'll build their tone library. But then you'll be able to send those tones that you've created on the amp into the FX100. Because they're saved on the iPad. The iPad's not doing any of the processing, but the parameters are saved on there. So then you could fly that over to the FX100 and go and take that out and do a gig. I think it's a great little product, and I think it will be, like you say, people are going to have to know the full story about it before they know they want to go for one. But I think when they do, it's very, very impressive indeed. Should we do some questions? First up, Ken via email. He says, I listen to your podcast weekly and I've heard you mention the excellent quality Squier are doing. My question is, I'm thinking of taking up learning the bass. I've looked at the Squier Vintage Modified Precision Bass, but I was wondering, I don't want to stretch to a Fender American P bass until I'm sure I want to continue, but the Mexican ones do come at a nice price for a beginner. Is it worth getting the Mexican or the Squier? £5 to whoever can guess what our answer is going to be. That's a lie. Because I know exactly what our answer's going to be. Squier Matt Freeman P bass.
Yeah, I mean...
Hold on, didn't we say earlier that there's an answer to everything bass related, and that is P bass or Matt Freeman P bass?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think you get... The Matt Freeman P bass is a bit of a weird one, I guess, for a beginner, because it's a very, very, very chunky neck. And so it's not quite to everyone's taste. The other one that I would suggest would be the bass that I owned before buying an American Standard P bass, which was the Squier Vintage Modified 70s Jazz bass, which I thought was absolutely great.
I don't think the neck would put you off the Matt Freeman. I think it feels comfortable. It's big, but it's still comfy.
I love it. I think it's absolutely wicked. I really do think it's such a great instrument. But for me, I just think the Squier stuff's so good. It's so good. Yeah. It's not to say that the Mexican stuff isn't good, but I really like the Squier stuff, and I think you get there's such good value for money, and I just think it's worth going for one of those. And then once you know that you're gonna stick with it, roll with it. Get the American Standard, because they're just brilliant. Everything about all of those, everything you've talked about is brilliant, but go with the Matt Freeman because it's the best.
I think that the Mexican ones are great, and I've said before that they're really sturdy, and if you're gigging every night, then they're brilliant for that sort of thing. I just don't think they're as fun these days as the Squier stuff. I think the Squier stuff is way more fun.
Yeah.
Particularly when you get to the top end of the Squier bracket, when you're looking at things like Vintage Modified or the Vinmod Jazz, or the Matt Freeman, which we all recommend. I just think go for that. You'll have more fun. You spend a little bit less money. You've got a bit more to save up for the American P bass when you decide to go for one. Not if. I was going to say if you decide to go for one, but when you decide to go for one. Matt Freeman's definitely the one to look at. But any of the Squier range, have a browse. Will on Twitter, another bass question. The time when Joe Branton isn't here, another bass question. Will on Twitter says, how could I get a Chris Wolstenholme type rig on a budget? Now, Chris Wolstenholme is from Muse.
Yes, my favourite band of all time.
Matt Knight, you've done a little bit of research on this.
Yeah, well, I you know what? I thought, I don't know what he actually uses, because I know, but looking through it, do you know what? His rig is actually, yes, there's some like complex MIDI switching in there, but when you actually take the bass and kind of like his amps, so one of his main basses for the last record they recorded was the so he's got a signature status bass, but he's also uses a lot of jazz basses and a Rickenbacker 4001. So I mean, if you're doing it on a budget and you want to use a jazz bass, obviously we're just saying about Squire, but actually one of the amps he's using we used for that. So he used the Tech 21 Sands amp. Okay,
classic. Every bass player should have one anyway.
They've put it under effects, but he definitely used it as an amp. But a BassPod Pro, apparently.
Okay.
And Mark Bass, SD800, an SVT VR, and standard 410 cabs.
Wow. I mean, it kind of makes sense, an SD800, because I guess with that sort of sound, you want a lot of clean headroom. If you're going to be using a lot of effects, you want something that sounds beefy. And I've talked about it before. I think one of my staff picks, it was when we were saying how we would spend £5,000.
Yeah.
My pick was like the SD1200, which is super loud, super clean. The 800's a similar vibe. That would work really well for that sound.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say, maybe more of that rockier sound comes from the Rickenbacker. I've seen him play a Rickenbacker a lot more, I think. But obviously he probably uses his signature ones a lot more. But, I mean, what would you do if you wanted something like that?
Well, I mean, I would say that, something like the Status is obviously going to be very expensive. Maybe something like an Ibanez, something with an active preamp in there. Maybe something like the SR300, which is not a lot of money. They're a couple of £100.
Into a Sands amp. Into maybe, if you want something with clean headroom, maybe one of the TC Electronic 500 bass combos or something like that.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, at the moment we've got a bit of a TC deal on where things like the RH500 head, I believe it's called, I don't have this in front of me right now, they're working out at like a couple of £100 for a 500 watt head.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say the TC stuff would definitely get you that sort of sound just because it's got loads of volume and it is super clean. Pair that up with a cab that's in your price range. How about effects? I assume that he's using a fair amount of effects.
People who probably know about him and obviously know about the Akai bass synth unit, which I'm sure, Mark, you probably remember selling new for absolutely no money whatsoever about 10 years ago.
The Akai Deep Impact, which I remember when I first started working here, we had like 5 or 6 that we just couldn't sell, and we probably ended up selling them for like £20.
How much do they go on eBay for now, J Cross?
No idea.
£800 is the general price they go for.
Holy granoli.
But that's generally because that is a lot of the early synth tones and bass sounds from a lot of the Muse records come from that pedal, and I think that's probably put the status up. But supposedly, little question mark here, they reckon Digitech synth bass.
I told you. I told you.
How much are they? 24 quid?
Buy one now for 35 quid.
35 quid.
And then maybe in 15 years' time they'll be worth 800 quid.
I honestly think the most underrated pedal that we sell, Digitech bass synth wah.
Probably a Zevex Mastertron, because they sound really good on bass, and they've got like the fuzz comes under like a pulse width, almost like a synth, and you can get that kind of really crackly, like Velcro-esque distortion, but you can get some really fat sound as well. Probably a Big Muff. I mean, but how many times have we heard in here a bass Big Muff with that classic Muse riff played through it? On a bass.
You just kind of want things that like shred the tone, basically, and a USA Big Muff will be perfect for that.
He's not. I would say he's probably not famed for his kind of great clean slap tone, is he?
No.
So, a lot of the sounds you hear are quite distorted and
so there we go. I think that would get you a close approximation. So something like one of the more budget Ibanez basses, one of the TC Electronic amps, as much kind of headroom as you can afford, really. Into one of the TC cabs, again, they're very affordable. And what we're saying, Big Muff, Digitech bass synth, and maybe the Mastertron by Zevex.
Well, actually, if you want to work into a budget, Zevex Fuzzalo, because they're 95 quid and they're the mini version of that pedal.
There we go. Well, I hope that gets you closer. I mean, it's still a considerable budget, but if you're buying the whole rig, that's about as kind of budget as you're going to get it, I guess. Callum on Twitter says, in fact, let's do Callum last, because Callum's got a little thought experiment for us. Let's do Fletch on Twitter, who says, I need a delay to go with my TC Hall of Fame Mini and Moor Green Mile. Any recommendations, and where should I put them in the signal chain? He also talked about getting Electro-Harmonic Soul Food, by the way, which I think we can all agree, just get one.
Yeah, 100%.
They're very, very good.
No question.
Matt, what are you saying about a delay similarly priced to the Hall of Fame Mini?
What? Reverb.
No, he wants a delay pedal to go with his Hall of Fame Mini.
Sorry.
And he wants to spend about the same money.
Sorry.
Do you know what I'm really getting into again? Carbon copies.
Great pedal, but not in the same price bracket.
Well, no, I mean, they're what? Well, the thing is, Hall of Fame Minis have gone down to what?
They're like 70 quid or something.
70,
and the carbon, I'm really into the carbon copy as well.
129 quid, so it depends how, because Echo Shifter, the Ibanez Echo Shifter, how much were they? They were like sub 100 quid, weren't
sub
they?
100. No, maybe just above, like 115 or something.
Yeah.
What about the Moor?
The Re-Echo?
The Re-Echo, it's the pink one, yeah?
No, that's the Anna Echo.
The Anna, that's the one I meant.
The Re-Echo is like
the grey one, I think is. Yeah, I really like the Anna Echo. I think that's really, really cool. It's just an analog delay. Sounds wicked.
Simple.
Yeah, not hugely versatile, but just does one sound, and that one sound is.
But actually, for what we're doing them for at the moment, flashback. I mean, I think we're doing the flashbacks for like 90 quid.
Yeah, but the problem is, and I really don't want to sort of fall back into the same old trap here, is if you're going to spend 95 quid on a flashback, M9, M5.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
96 M5, loved by everyone on the podcast.
Yeah.
I personally would go with the carbon copy, and I say this pretty much every time someone asks for a delay pedal, but it is a bit more money. But if you want really vibey delay sounds, kick that modulation switch in on the carbon copy.
So good.
And it just sounds good. It just sounds like old records, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds like a bit of delay and kind of slight kind of vinyl tape wobble to it.
Yeah. To me, like, that's just a great delay pedal, but it's not particularly versatile. Where obviously, if you've got something like the whole, it depends really what you're doing. If you want something and you want to change all the sounds all the time.
Well, this over the last couple of years, I think this has been the debate, really, isn't it, between the flashback and the carbon copy. Flashback, much more versatile, loads of stuff, does reverse delay and stuff as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Carbon copy doesn't do anywhere near as many sounds. It just kind of does one sound, really, but the one sound it does is awesome.
I missed mine. Maybe I should buy another one.
Just get another carbon copy. Go on, you'll never regret it. You've got room on those ridiculous pedal boards of yours.
Oh, yeah.
Just stick it, turn it on, and
Never
have it upside down. Have it on the underside of your pedal train. Don't need to turn it off.
Just
leave
turn it off.
on.
You think that's funny? I have actually considered like trying to tape a pedal that I would leave on all the time. And then I went, no, that's just
carbon copy.
I'll tell you the best pedal to do that with. Dunlop Echoplex, because you need to leave that on all the time, and that would definitely fit on the underside of a pedal train.
Maybe.
Right. So this next question, actually, this comes from a few weeks ago, and I remember the question coming in. We didn't actually get around to answering it on the podcast. I've since forgotten who sent it in and the exact wording of it. But I thought it'd be
this
something.
Sounds like something you've made up.
No, it's not.
Is this a question that you want to know, but you're too embarrassed to ask?
No. We talked about it a few weeks ago, and we were going to do a full podcast on it, but I think we should cover it now because I've been talking to Focusrite today, who this question is kind of relevant to. So whoever sent us in this question, thanks very much. Please do claim it. Email podcast@gak.co.uk and we'll give you a mention next week. They wanted to know what was the best way to record guitar at home, and I've been talking about a few different solutions, really. Matt, you've done some sort of home recording, haven't you? Have you got a little Focusrite set up at home? I
was going to pip in with the little compare there. I was going to pip in with some Roland.
Okay.
Because I use a quad capture, which is dead simple. But I know for what money they are, they're not super expensive, but I know you get a lot for the Focusrite because they do the iStudio.
Well, I've picked out 3 bundles here. So the first 2 are very, very good for, I guess, like iOS stuff. which is how a lot of people are going to be recording at home, because obviously you can get like GarageBand on your phone, and you can get, you know, versions. I think there's even like a version of Ableton. So the first ones that I picked out, one of them is like a standalone sound card that will basically work with iOS stuff. It's the Focusrite iTrack Solo. What you get with that is just like a 1-in sound card. 2-in sound card. One for guitar, but it's got one mic pre as well. So perfect if you want to do some vocals and that sort of thing. All the Focusrite stuff we're going to mention, I recommend it because it's super easy to set up, really durable, maybe with guitarists in mind. And 99 quid. And at the moment on our site comes with a pair of free headphones as well. So very highly recommended.
I think as well, just worth pointing out, because you might not always really have a monitor set up or room for monitors. You probably might just have a laptop, and actually they work really well for that, because you can just plug headphones straight in and you can just do everything through that. Definitely. So the idea behind these is that they're kind of made for iPad, really. There is another product out that if you're using like an iPad specifically, might work even better, and I think actually kind of almost aesthetically is a bit better, which is the Focusrite iTrack dock. They just released this at NAMM, and we went to see them at NAMM, and they showed us like one of the first demos of it. What this essentially is almost like a docking station for your iPad. You slot the iPad in, and you've got let's see how many ins and outs you've got. So I can't remember. You've got some ins and outs that will allow you to... Oh, 2 Focusrite mic preamps. So you've got, can have 2 mics in. And it almost becomes like a little studio hub. So you plug the iPad in, and you've got like master volume and stuff on the front and level controls. And it's good because you've got proper, actual, like hardwired control, or, you know, hand control. So if you're plugging things in, that vocal's just clipped, you can just notch it down really quickly. And it also comes with, there's a free app to download with it called Tape, which is Focusrite's, I think, 2-track recording software. So just really good for getting ideas down, but I think it'll work with like GarageBand and stuff as well.
Does it take an iPad Mini?
Yes.
That's good, because I've got one of those, and I quite like the sound of this.
The iPad Mini fits in even more snugly. There's a picture of it with a full iPad.
Okay, yeah.
Which, for people at home, it's not very aesthetically pleasing, because it does fit in there, but it's kind of big.
Yeah.
But an iPad Mini, I think, even better. And I think it'll work even with older iPads. I think there's like an adapter that you can get, but don't quote me on that. The last bundle that I picked out is the Scarlett Studio, which is made basically for use with like actual computers rather than iOS stuff. The reason I pick it out is because the bundle that it comes in is very, very good indeed. 199 quid. You get the 2-in, 2-out sound card. You also get a decent condenser mic, so a good mic for recording vocals, and a set of good headphones as well. This is kind of the one that I point everyone towards, like recording on the iOS side of things. If you just want to do that, then that stuff's great. But actually, if you're going to take it seriously and you want to do some proper editing and build proper tunes, even if you're just using GarageBand, this package is really good. And I think actually on our site we do it with a mic stand and a pop shield for 219 quid. So pretty much everything that you would need. It comes with the cables that you would need. If you're recording guitar at home, this is kind of the product to go for, really.
The thing about this is I am an idiot.
Yep.
And I've got one of these.
Have you actually got one of these?
Yeah, I've got one of these. Yeah, I've got the 2i2.
Okay, yeah, so that's the sound card that comes with the little 2i2. Have you managed to get it up and running?
Yeah.
I mean, for you, that's incredible.
I know. It's really easy.
It really is a case of if you can do it, anyone can record guitar at home.
Yeah.
So highly recommended, really. And again, sorry, I can't remember your name who wrote in, but I think it is useful for everyone.
It's 29 from Brighton.
Anonymous, you know him.
No. If you go back and listen to some old podcasts, you'll hear we said we were going to do a full episode on it, but I think actually it's relevant to talk about it now. And I feel bad for not talking about it yet, but I also feel bad because I've forgotten your name. I'm really sorry. But yeah, the Focusrite Scarlett Studio, if you're doing any sort of home recording and you don't want to spend a load of money, but you want to get some stuff that's actually quite good and really easy to set up and guitar friendly, then Focusrite Scarlett Studio is the one to go for. Let's do one last question. Matt Knight.
Stop asking questions to Siri instead of doing a podcast.
Yeah. I was hoping that
Dear Siri, can I please go home now?
I was trying to look at the time and then Siri came and I was like, go away, Siri. I want to talk to you.
Callum on Twitter has got a little thought experiment for us. taking the concept of a B-bender and turning it into a wah filter, would it work?
So
Yes.
the B-bender, let's explain the B-bender first of all.
Matt Knight, what is a B-bender?
A B-bender is a rather odd contraption that allows you to, when you pull your guitar down, in terms
on
of
the strap,
on the where you would, the neck part of the strap would go on a telly, pulls a little lever which then pulls your B string up a certain pitch, which is generally a second, I think, or a tone, a whole tone.
Yeah, it's for sort
tone,
of country bends, isn't it? Or no, is it hot? Is it a semitone?
No, it's a whole tone.
Okay.
I think. And then there's also a G bender, which does the same thing, but does it from the bottom, so you can be up and down.
Well, the B bender is the traditional one, and Fender have done, and Gibson have both done guitars in recent years that have got the B bender on a stock.
Yeah.
I got really into this and actually started looking into it a little bit more, and I found there's a really good video of a fella whose name I can't remember, who builds guitars, and he did a guitar that had a B bender and a G bender built in at the same time. And the way you controlled the B was, as Matt was explaining, you sort of push the guitar away from you, push the neck down towards the floor.
You kind of push it sort of left a bit.
Yeah. And that pulls this lever up. And the way that the G bender worked was you actually attached, imagine like where the strap button would be on an SG. So on the back plate of the guitar, you had like a piece of string that came off there, and you attached that to one of your belt loops. And so if you pushed the guitar away from you, it then did the G bender. So there was this really weird video of this fella who was sort of pushing his guitar down and away from him, and then up and towards him, and it was bending the G and the B in opposite directions at different. It was really weird.
We used to sell it, and we got it in for a customer of ours that for lap steels you used to get a thing called the multi bender, which was, it allowed you to set a different one for each string. So in theory. And then that allowed you to, while you were playing lap steel, bend the strings up a tone, but you could set it on different strings. So you could have a bender for each string.
I just can't get my head around that. That's, yeah.
But
so anyway.
but I'm sure, someone might have to look, I might have to look this up, but I'm sure there's a B bender, but you can change how much it bends the string, and you can vary.
Yeah, I think they all do that. I think they've got like a.
I think the Gibson one had a little roller on the back.
And I think I'm sure the Fender one did as well.
I think that's
part of it, so that you can alter the sweep. Whether you could get it to work with the tone control.
I think what you would have to do is build an effects circuit in the guitar that would then turn a knob inside the guitar. It would turn a pot inside the guitar, essentially.
I've worked it out.
Go on.
So you combine.
Matt and I did not sleep at all last night. Thanks, Callum.
So you can buy an expression pedal that goes on your ring finger. That is then controlled. It's like not like a light sensitive one. Everyone's probably seen the video of someone doing like some dubstep bass with like a wah pedal, but they've got like a controller on their ring finger. So you can buy that without the pedal, just that then plugs into an expression. That's anything that takes an expression pedal. So instead of an expression pedal on the floor, it works on your ring finger, and it works via Bluetooth. So you can plug that into a Moog MF101 low pass filter.
Yeah.
And then, but instead of putting it on your ring finger, you put it on your strap. And then if you could if you put it on your strap, and then you could move your strap up and down like that, perhaps.
That would then filter, but does it not need to have a surface for the light to bounce back?
No, because they work like you just wave your hand up and down like a wah.
So effectively you could do that.
See, I didn't understand the drum and bass video, so I'm definitely not going to understand this.
I mean, I suppose we can mention it, but it's called, the company's called Source Audio, and they make these things that they're called hot hands, and they're like an expression pedal
that you got in your hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could attach that to the guitar.
But they do a separate one that doesn't have to go into one of their pedals, and it just works as an expression, and you can then plug it into anything with the expression input. So you could use it to control, if you plugged it into an M5, you could use it to control the expression or delay time on a delay.
That'd be great. You could plug it into the M5 and then use the filter modeler settings in there. You'd get some crazy sounds off that.
Yeah.
So there we go, Callum. It sort of can be done, but not really as a B bender. But you could still be flinging your guitar around and doing that.
Unless he's got a B bender guitar, and what he's saying is, I'm bored of bending the B. How can I turn it into a wire and filter? Which in that way, then yeah, put it.
I think you could still do it, but you would need to build an effects circuit into the guitar itself. Would be the only way to do it, I think. We're
going to start going down the routes of taping Chaos pads to
your feet,
guitars. So 2 wires onto each foot so when you walk along. Waka, waka, waka.
I think on that note we should call it a night. If you got any questions, please do send them in, podcast@gak.co.uk, or you can get us on Twitter, gak_co_uk, or on Facebook, facebook.com/GAK music, or you can speak to me at Mark_random on Twitter. This week I want to hear and I want you to send me videos of people controlling guitar effects with Nintendo Wii controllers. Jay Cross, how can people get in touch with you?
You can shoot me an email at j.cross@gak.co.uk, or get at me on Twitter, JAYBM1. It's important to note that next week will be my last podcast for a little while. I'm going away for 3 weeks again. Going to the US for 3 weeks again. So so Matt Knight's going to be working 21 days straight. No, he's not. He's really not. But give me things to look out for in the US that I might need to bring back. Or more importantly, by the time you've listened to this, the football season will be over and the World Cup won't start for a few weeks. So please just send me pictures of cats and amps.
Does the World Cup start when you're in America?
It does not. It starts on June 15th, I think. So
14th is England's first game.
Oh, okay. In that case, it must be June 13th. Is the first.
There we go.
Or 12th. It's around that. But yeah, just please. I need some more cats on amps. Is what I need.
Good. I'm into it. Matt Knight, how can people get in touch?
You can email me matt.knight@gak.co.uk, or you can tweet me matt_knighty. That's Knight with SIE on the end. And I'm going to talk about. Well, I want to talk about integrating a Chaos pad into my setup for the second time.
Old school.
But an old one, like a KP1.
KP1.
I don't know. I've got the idea. I've got the idea of getting a pedal board that just sits on top of my amp.
Okay.
What? Just stuff that's always on?
No, it's in a separate effects loop that I can then hit on and then.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of Chaos pad guitar.
Any thoughts on that? Do get in touch with Matt. Thanks very much. Thanks for listening. Do join us next week when hopefully we'll have a full crew for Jay's last podcast for a while. So
yeah,
good,
cool.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
I went to Kensington's and got. I've been eating really healthily recently, but today I didn't. I went and got a sausage and mushroom bap.